We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Our text for study is Panchadasi, chapter 3, consisting of 43 verses. We have done 7 verses. Today we are going to start the 8th verse. This particular chapter, as I have said before, is a summary of Taittiriya Upanishad, and it follows the same style of teaching and revealing the truth. There are 2 Upanishads which are very, very favorite among the seekers. One is Mandukya Upanishad, second is Taittiriya Upanishad. Why they are favorite? Because one can apply that easily and see the truth in oneself. The Mandukya Upanishad talks about the 3 avasthas, the 3 states in which we experience ourselves: the waking state, dream state, and the sleep state. Taittiriya Upanishad talks about the 5 koshas, the 5 dresses which we all wear every day, all the time. We are never away from these 5 layers of our own self. So like we have 3 layers of experiences, we have 5 layers of dresses which we wear all the time. So we have to remove the 3 states of consciousness. We have to remove the 5 dresses which we wear, and see our real nature. According to the Upanishads, the dresses and the 3 states of consciousness are anatma. They are not the self. And the self lies beyond them. So because these 2 Upanishads directly talk about our own experiences, it's a very favorite. These are 2 good favorite Upanishads among all seekers. Every seeker of Vedanta will always do these 2 texts. And a revision of these 2 texts is always useful, because repeated shravanam, repeated listening of the scriptures itself gives us the qualifications which are necessary to understand the truth. This has been said by Vicharasagara author Nishaladasa Acharya, very great Acharya. He says, try to reduce your karma and upasana, your actions and meditations, and then you focus on listening more as a seeker. So with that short introduction on Upanishads, when we dive deep into the Taittiriya Upanishad, it opens up a lot of revelations about our mind. Manomaya kosha and vijnanamaya kosha. These are the 2 very important dresses which we all are using all the time in our waking state. And there are not many textbooks available which deal with this two koshas. Not many textbooks. Even in Vedanta, you'll find very, very few texts which deal with the mind and intellect as an instrument for realization. What does one see, experience when one closes the eyes and start looking inside? Because that is the arena, that is the ground on which our whole spiritual science is based on. That is the initial phase. Once we have acclimatized to seeing the truth within ourselves, then it is easy for us to see the same truth everywhere in the world. With that viewpoint, this chapter becomes very useful. And knowledge is a base on which the entire living is based. And what is the nature of that knowledge? If we are able to understand in our own self, that is what is called as liberation or moksha. Okay, let's now see the 8th verse, which we are supposed to start today.
कर्तृत्वकरणत्वाभ्यां विक्रियेनान्तरिन्द्रियं विज्ञानमनसि अन्तः बहिश्चैते परस्परम्.
So what does this verse say? Kartrutva karanatvabhyam vikriyetantarindriyam. The inner functions, the inner organ, which we all have, which is called as the antakaranam, it functions as an agent and it also functions as an instrument. It is one instrument, it is one organ. It is like we have the eyes, like we have the ears, we have an inner instrument which is not visible. At least eyes you can see. In front of a mirror, you can see I have a pair of eyes. But in front of a mirror, you go and see, you can't see your mind. You can't see your intellect. It is invisible because it is subtle body. The subtlety makes it difficult for us to, for the gross organs to perceive. Now the mind, and it is called as the mind, manaha, and it is called as buddhi. Now the fields of operations are different. When you look inward, it is the buddhi, internal world. When you look outside, the same instrument, when you try to see outside, it becomes the perceiver of the world. External world, the data from the external world comes inside. So buddhi and manaha. See, now this is where all of us, we have to be very clear. What is buddhi? What is manaha? Vidyaranya gives a very detailed explanation of these two in the next 3-4 verses. Buddhi is static. Static means it doesn't go out. It is always, and remember, both these are only thoughts. It is in the form of a vritti. That is how we perceive both the mind and the intellect. Like we have the sound for the ears, the color and form for the eyes, the feeling of touch for the skin. For the antakaranam, mind and the intellect, we have something called as vritti. It is a change which happens in the internal organ. When there is continuous change, it is called as manaha. When there is no change, it is static. The same instrument is called as buddhi. And the buddhi, because it is not changing, it is able to determine certain things and take decision. So buddhi's role is to take decisions. At the same time, always remains within, it doesn't go out. The moment I open the eyes or look around, my eyes are seeing things. The vrittis which are there in the antakaranam, they are moving out. That is what we will study in this verse. Sense organs are called as bahir indriyam. Sense organs means the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. They are the perceivers of the sense objects which are shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha. The technical term for the perception is called as vritti vyapti. When the sense organs are sending the light of consciousness into the external world, they go and envelop the objects. That is what is called as vritti vyapti. And then there is a second operation which happens, which is called as phala vyapti. Phala vyapti is something which happens in the mind, which removes the ignorance of that object. These are technical terms. These are which are, as in many places we will be discussing these two terms, vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. The consciousness has a very important role in the phala vyapti. It reveals the object, illumines the object. The vritti goes and envelops the objects. These are two. This is how Vedanta describes the knowledge taking place in our buddhi. How the knowledge takes place. Kartrutva karanatvaabhyam vikriyete indriyam. Kartrutvam and karanatvam. Karanatvam means the instrument. Kartrutvam means the doership. So the buddhi is responsible for the doer function in the body. Suppose you all say, I am the doer of this action. I am listening to the class. I am eating. I am running. I am walking. I am sleeping. I. That I, the doer, is called as the intellect. And the same instrument is also karanam. It is an instrument to get the data from outside. When it is used as a karanam, it's called as the mind. Cause is called as karanam. There is a difference between karanam, which is an instrument, and karanam, cause. There are two causes for knowledge to take place. One is called as sadharana karanam. The second is called as asadharana karanam. What is the general cause? Mind is supposed to be the sadharana karanam. Sadharana karanam means it is for inquiring into the dosha and guna of the sense objects or of the world, mind is the cause. Because through the mind, we get the 5 inputs. We see the merit and demerit, see the faults in them. For example, I want to see these are all explanation of how things happen in us. All this happens very, very easily. When we are discussing or internally trying to analyze, should I go to eat or not? Should I eat at 6 o'clock? Should I eat at 7 o'clock? This is what is called as idam pratyaya. Idam means this. So the mind is sadharana karanam. What about the intellect? It is the specific or asadharana karanam. It will tell you the uniqueness. It will bring out, it is a unique instrument which gives us the determining function. Suppose I want to decide, yes, I will go, I will not go, I will study today, I will not study today, I will meditate, I will not meditate. These are all decisions. Decisions cannot be made by the senses, sense organs, or it cannot be made by the pranas, or it cannot be made by the mind. Can you see the difference now? These are the instruments which we have. We have the prana which is going on. It is only a physiological function. It keeps the body alive. We have the sense organs, like the ears, eyes, and all that, but they cannot decide. They are used for decision making. They are the input providers. But for giving the output, we need the intellect. For example, cooking has got 2 causes. To cook, you need utensils, you need light, you need provisions, so many things. But what is the basic specific cause? It is the heat, it is the fire. It can be an electric oven, or it can be actual gas stove, but that is the karanam, specific karanam. So in Taittiriya Upanishad, this is intellect is described in this form, where it says that this intellect is the agent for all physical activities, because it gives us the knowledge to perform actions. The knowledge aspect is given by the intellect. And what it says is, when we try to remove all the desires from the intellect, then we come to know what lies behind the intellect, which is what is called as the light of consciousness. By karma, you cannot know. But through knowledge, if you go through the intellect, is where the root lies. 2 types of thought processes are there in the internal organ. One is called as cognition, other is called as determination. Cognition means vimarsha rupa, inquiry, continuously vacillating. Vimarsham means vacillating. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Seeing the pros and cons of the situations. That is the mind. What is the intellect? The intellect is that agent. The moment your mind keeps on vacillating, and suddenly you will find, yes, the mind takes a decision. That decision within is, whatever is the instrument which takes the decision is called as the buddhi. And it is the adhara for the doership in us. It is the substratum on which the entire karta is based. Same antakaranam is the karanam as well as the karta. Karanam is always outside. Karta is always inside. I. The moment I keep on saying I am eating, I am doing, I am listening, then that is called as the intellect. That is the karta. There is no karta without the mind, because the mind is also important to get the knowledge from outside. And there is no mind without the karta. You see, they are all both connected. It is the same instrument. It is, one is nirupakaha, another is nirupya. Mind and intellect, they become mutually karanam and karta. Then we go into the internal aspect, the agent aspect, the karta aspect. It is called as vijnanamaya kosha. When it is used as an instrument, it is called as manomaya kosha. The mind is the one which feels sukham and dukkham. Where do I experience the joy and sorrow in our life? It is in the mind, because it is vacillating. Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sorrowful. You'll find this in all of us. I am not the manomaya kosha. Sometimes I'm angry, krodhi, kami, raghi, dveshi. It is this mind when I get identified with, I say I am born. Because without this I in the body, there is no jiva. The jiva is always identified with the instrument in the waking state. But it can exist without the instrument also. That is why we say, understand what the nature of the instrument which we are using. Without the operation of the inner organ, there cannot be a karta. So they are two separate components, but it is one organ. That's what we should understand. Now, Anthyasara is a superimposition which happens when I, the Sakshi, without knowing I am a Sakshi, I start using the instrument and I start identifying with the body. This is what is called as Anthyasara, which is what we are studying in our Saturday classes. Anthyasara will come in almost all the parts of our study. Everywhere we go, we will always have this word Anthyasara. And Anthyasara, you should remember, is superimposition. And when does it happen? Whenever I'm using the body, the physical body in the waking state, you must remember there is an Anthyasara happening. I am a pure Sakshi. I am Atman. I can exist without the body and mind, instruments. When I exist without the body and a mind instrument, who am I? What is the name given to me? Atma. What is the name given to you? Atma. What is the name given to billions of people on the earth? Atma. There is only one Atma, one light of consciousness, one substratum, which is the cause of this entire Jagat. That is our goal, to reach. Now, these are all the different methods of trying to reach that goal. Because we have to use our instrument, we are trying to understand the nature of the instrument. The doership is more subtler. It is the controller. The intellect, the vijnanamaya kosha, is a higher kosha. It is a subtler kosha. Beyond that kosha lies the anandamaya kosha. So what we have to understand is that in the buddhi, there are in the internal organ, it can be an agent, it can be a karta. Karta as an agent, or it can be a mind which is going into the world. Whenever the buddhi takes decision, nishchaya, knowledge happens. The knowledge can be either right knowledge or wrong knowledge. What is right knowledge according to Vedanta? Right knowledge is valid knowledge. It is satyam. See, this is going a little bit deeper into our discussion. Whenever I'm using buddhi, what happens? Buddhi means intellect. There is a right knowledge, there is a wrong knowledge. The wrong knowledge is called as mithya, invalid knowledge, ignorance. So what is the wrong knowledge? I am the body, I am the mind, I am the karta, I am the bhokta, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. This is all wrong knowledge. It is all happening in the same buddhi. The instrument is still the same, but in the same instrument, suppose I say I am the sakshi, that is what is called as satyam. Without the identifications with the instrument, the knowledge which takes place in the intellect is in our instrument is called as the right knowledge, because that knowledge belongs to the core of my personality. Vijnana. Jnana means decision. Vijnana means conclusive decision. Vijnanamaya kosha is a reflection of consciousness, and it is there throughout the day. See, we have to study the Vijnanamaya kosha and manomaya kosha in tandem. You need, because you need to differentiate each other. What is manomaya? What is Vijnanamaya? Vijnanamaya is, now we have studied, it is determining function. Mind is a vritti form which is always cogitating. The I-ness in the body comes because of the reflection of consciousness in the buddhi. It is the chit-pratibimba. Chit-pratibimba means what? Reflection of consciousness. Where is this happening? In the Vijnanamaya kosha. And because of this reflection which happens in the intellect, I become the karta, doing enabled by reflection of consciousness. Suppose this reflection is not there, as in sleep. What happens? I remain as sakshi. I remain as pure consciousness. That is what the Upanishad is revealing. Why does the mind, why mind doesn't become as chit-pratibimba or karta? Is a question which you should ask yourself. Why? It should come in out. Now we are discussing the mind. We are discussing the intellect. We are saying that in the intellect, the consciousness is reflected. Why it is not reflected in the mind, not the agent part, not the karta part, but in the karanam part? The reason is chanchalatvam is the nature of mind, continuously changing. So throughout the day, I'm using the mind much more than I use my intellect. All of us, we will be able to see this, because the mind is always engaged with the sense organs. The 5 sense organs are the 5 horses. In Kathopanishad, it says the sense organs are like the horses. They are moving in the roads of sense objects. And the holder, the person who is holding the reins is the mind. So through the mind, you can control the sense organs. And who is behind the mind? It is the buddhi, the karta. There's a very beautiful example given in Kathopanishad. When we do Kathopanishad, I'll go into the detail, but it is the same aspect which we should try to understand here. Manomaya kosha is always unsteady. Therefore, it is something different than the steady I, the doer. Vijnanamaya kosha is more steady compared to the manomaya kosha. Therefore, we say there is a distinction between the karta, the agent, and the karanam, which is always in oscillating form because of the sense objects getting perceived in that aspect of the inner organ. So, if you have to look at mind, you have to look at the world externally. When you look at the buddhi, you look at internally. Internally, what is happening? The reflection of consciousness is falling. The buddhi is like a mirror. That is why it is called a subtlest. Our mind is so subtle. The more subtle it is, the more it can capture the consciousness. Consciousness is the light of the spiritual light. We are not talking about the external light. External light is seen by the eyes. That is matter principle. Here we are talking about the spiritual principle, which is the consciousness. An unsteady river can't have the reflection of the sun. Suppose the river is moving fast, like the Ganga, you know, it's a fast moving. You cannot see the reflection of sun in it. Suppose you see Manasarovar, you see steady lake, no movement. There the sun can be reflected. Similarly is our mind. The unsteady mind, manaha, cannot have the reflection of Atma, whereas the buddhi can have the reflection. Karta I is an inner thought. Karana, mind, is an outer thought. The karta I is the performer of action, and the karta I gets the reflection of consciousness. The karta I is called as the vijnanamaya kosha. Vijnanamaya kosha ends in deep sleep. That is what we should understand about manomaya kosha and vijnanamaya kosha. What is the difference between the two is explained beautifully in verse number 8. Anytime you have a doubt, go through these notes and the explanations which I have given you now. You will be able to go and understand your own instrument better. I'm not saying you will understand it 100%, but the moment you go inside, you will start seeing the function of both these instruments. Why all of us can know this function when we close our eyes and start watching our mind? All our mind, all our bodies are made up in the same way. Panchabhutas are the constituents of our bodies. Your body is the same as my body. The functioning of your inner mind and instrument is similar to my mind and instrument. You may be very, very knowledgeable about the world because of training. You have got training in the field of medicine, in the field of law, in the field of international relations, in the field of computer science. It's a training which you have given to your intellect. My training may be different, but the instrument is the same. And why we are able to watch it, you must know, because the Upanishads reveal I am the sakshi, the witness of the mind and the intellect instrument. This is the greatest revelation of Upanishads. It is not said in the science. It is not said. Science never talks about witness consciousness. There's nothing in. They never talk about it. They talk about consciousness, but not witness consciousness. And because our rishis knew there was something different than the mind, they could study this anthakarnam so deeply, so deeply, so deeply. You will be amazed at the way the rishis could go deep into the mind. They could stop the thoughts. They could see what is beyond that thoughts into a new phenomena, which is called as the consciousness. That is the revelation in the Upanishads. That is what we are trying to understand. What was it the rishis experienced when they could quieten their mind? Let's go to verse number 9.
काचिदन्तर्मुखा वृत्तिः आनन्दप्रतिबिम्बभाक् पुण्यभोगे भोगशान्तौ निद्रारूपेण लीयते.
In this verse, many deep knowledge about our mind instrument is given. Anandamaya kosha is the next sheath for our study. Anandamaya kosha means the bliss sheath, the sleeper eye. Who is the sleeper, if you ask? Who is the bhokta? Who is the enjoyer in this body? It is this Anandamaya kosha. Vidyaranya demarcates very clearly Anandamaya kosha, and he studies that in a slightly bigger detail, greater detail. He goes up to the level of saying that it is a karana sharira vritti. Normally, we are used to learning about vrittis only in the mind and intellect. But Vidyaranya goes very deep and he says there is a karana sharira vritti also. His analysis of the Anandamaya kosha is deeper. What does he say? At the time of enjoying the fruit of good actions, I experience joy. All of us know that the entire cosmic law of creation, of karma, has got an end result of sukham and dukkham. Joy and sorrow. That is the end result of all our actions. I feel happy doing something. I don't feel happy doing something. I feel happy attending class. That joy born out of attending this class is Anandamaya kosha. I eat an ice cream, it is Anandamaya kosha. I listen to good music, it is Anandamaya kosha. What is that Anandamaya kosha? How is it experienced? That is what is being said in this verse. It is a result of punyam, meritorious actions which we have done either in this birth or the previous birth. That's what Vidyaranya says it as the bhokta in us, the enjoyer in us. We are all born to experience the world. That is one portion. That is the perceiving portion. That is what the eyes are seeing. The karta portion, agent, buddhi. That is one aspect. But we don't stop there. There is another aspect in us, which is the bhokta, which is the enjoyer. What happens into my mind when those perceptions are received? When I see a beautiful scenery in Switzerland, the mountains, Alps, covered with snow, it's something very beautiful which my eyes don't see in Bombay or in Singapore or in other places. So it becomes quiet. And then there is a joy born in the mind. And that is what is called as the Anandamaya kosha. That kosha is a kosha. It is not permanent. It is there for a short time till you're in Switzerland, watching the mountain. Suppose you come back to the cities, that kosha is gone. You wake up from sleep state. That kosha of ananda, which you experienced in the sleep state, is gone. We must learn to differentiate the Ananda Swarupa and Ananda Kosha. We will do that in detail in this 1 or 2 verses. Intellect that at the time of enjoying the fruits of good actions goes inward into the Karana Sharira. It catches the reflection of the bliss of Atma, and it also merges in deep sleep. This blissful sheath merges in deep sleep, and it is different than the self. Very important point, because this is the last barrier we have. Beyond this is Atma. Beyond Anandamaya Kosha, there is nothing except Atma. That is what we'll start studying after this koshas are over. One entity is called as Karanam, Karta, Bhokta. Antakaranam is Karanam when it becomes the mind. Karta, Buddhi, and Bhokta, the enjoyer of sense organs, pleasures which we get, or of the sukham of the Atma. The mind collects the sense data, it presents to the intellect decides. These are all we have seen. And the 3 vrittis which we have, one is a perceiving vritti, one is an action vritti, one is enjoying vritti. What is Anandamaya Kosha? It is the enjoyer. Now we are going to go and study that enjoyership vritti, the thought of enjoyership. What is the construction of those thoughts? Are there any categories? Are there any differences in the happiness which we experience? Maya means vikara. Vikara means modification. Anandamaya Kosha. In the 5 koshas, I will give you the chart a little later. Modification is of happiness. Anandamaya Kosha is a modification of the happiness experienced in the same buddhi, but it is a vikara. It is a modification. Why it is a modification? Because we do not always experience this happiness. When I'm perceiving something, when I'm doing some mathematical problem solving, I don't experience that happiness. I'm just using my buddhi in a different way. Therefore, Vidyananda says, it is not me. According to the scriptures, it is changing, vikara. Anandamaya Kosha, suppose it is full of happiness. You see, kosha, there are 2 meanings we have given in the earlier talks. One is full of, another is modification, vikara. If it is full of happiness, it will be Brahman. It will be Satchit Ananda Atma. The koshas, 2 meanings. One is vikara. It is used when we are using Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha. It is Annamaya kosha is anna vikara, modification of food. Pranamaya kosha is the modification of the air we breathe in. The same air becomes the digestion, useful for digestion. It is used for circulation. It is used for breathing and keeping my lungs active. It's a vikara. It is also there in different parts of the body performing different actions. It is a vikara. Manomaya is a prachura. Prachura means full of. Vikara and prachura. Prachura means full of vrittis, full of thoughts. Vijnanamaya is full of thoughts again. It's full of the mind, prachura. Anandamaya is a vikara. It is not full of bliss, but it is the modification of bliss. The actual Ananda belongs to what? Atman. That Atma gets reflected in the Buddhi, it becomes the Anandamaya kosha. That kosha which is enjoying this small bliss of that Atma, it has got gradation. And that is what we will see it in the Anandamaya kosha. Mind, intellect, and Ananda all are thought form only. Once we identify with this, then I say I am happy. When I say I am happy, the self, which is the original Ananda, gets veiled. It gets covered. So identifying with any kosha, suppose I identified with the body. I start looking at the body and start seeing the body. It is full of, it's full of energy. Then I have lost contact with my Atma. I have stopped identifying with myself as the consciousness. So identification with these 5 koshas is the Anthyasara, is the superimposition. Like a sword is got a cover, like money which you have, the $10 notes which you have is covered by the purse. Like a book is covered by a covering. Similarly, Atma is covered with these 5 koshas. Our abhimana, our tadatmaya identification, it covers this Atma. I am the body. When we say I am the prana, I am the mind, I am the intellect. Suppose people say I am the buddhi. Many people say I am very, very intelligent. And they also think they are intelligent. It is only identification of the buddhi, the instrument. It's given by God. To some have been able to use it properly. Some we don't train the buddhi properly. But one thing, what is common, what we have to understand is it covers the consciousness. That is why it is called as kosha. Kaschit antarmukhatvat vritti. Inward thought in Karana Shariram is the Anandamaya kosha. I don't know the self. Atma is the Mula Avidya. Mula Avidya means I don't know my real nature of that blissful nature of pure consciousness without any koshas. I exist without the 5 koshas as Atma. Now, thoughts can be in the form of mind, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, or anandamaya kosha. When it is in the form of bahirmukha vritti, it is called as mind. It is a sukshma vritti. It is connected with the knowledge and the karma indriyas. Mind plus the indriyas, jnana indriyas, is the manomaya kosha. Be careful here. This is the definition of manomaya kosha. Mind plus jnana indriyas. Intellect plus jnana indriyas is called as vijnanamaya kosha. See how deep and how subtle this topic is, how we are able to go deeper into our thoughts and understand our nature better and better because we are the Sakshi. So Bahirmukha vritti is all this manomaya and vijnana. What is Antarmukha vritti? That is Anandamaya kosha. It is turned inwards. The mind is turned outwards, the sense organs are turned outwards. Therefore, our manomaya and vijnanamaya, from the point of vritti, with reference to the vritti, it is called as manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, or bahirmukha, outward looking. Whereas Anandamaya kosha, can you see the difference? You see, this is a very important point you should remember. Anandamaya kosha is a antarmukha vritti. The definition of Anandamaya kosha is antarmukha vritti. Once you remember these definitions properly, you will be able to discriminate between the kosha and the swarupam. Because that is the ultimate analysis. The buddhi, a trained buddhi, trained in this format, will be able to experience the ultimate Atman. You need training in this vritti format. So, Anandamaya kosha is the karana shariram, thought associated with an internal object. It has got no connection with the jnana indriyas or the karma indriyas. It is withdrawn from the objects. It happens when the objects are given up. That is why we say vairagyam. That is why we say this is play of punya papa bhoga. See how deep we are going. It's got nothing to do with your external world. It has got to do with punya papam. What is punya papam? That is karana sharira. It is the subtlest body we have. We take it from one body to another body. And it is the merit and demerit which is there in each of our accounts. Very, very subtle form. It's like the accountant who keeps track of all the jiva has to enjoy in this world. And the jiva will not leave the world till the last bhoga is enjoyed. That is the law of karma. That is the law of this Anandamaya kosha. So three ana. Now we are going, this is the nature of the Anandamaya kosha vrittis, which is described in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad says there are three levels, three categories of Anandamaya kosha thoughts. They are all internally looking at the Atman, internally looking in, they are all antarmukha vrittis, which is called as karana sharira vrittis. The bahirmukha vrittis is called as the sukshma sharira vrittis. These are the details we are studying in a deeper way in this text, which we have not seen in Tattvabodha. Tattvabodha only says there are three bodies: gross body, subtle body, and causal body. Here we are trying, Vidyaranya is now looking at what is the causal body. It is the antarmukha vritti, it is the karana shariram. And now we are understanding what is that ananda, that bhokta. What does he experience? He experiences three types of vrittis. One is called as priya vritti, second is called as moda vritti, and third is called as pramoda vritti. Priya vritti is what? It is darshana janya vritti. Vritti triggered by an object which is seen, perceived, because of punyam. I enjoy certain objects in life, a very good palatial house. It is because of punyam in my account, which is there, which I have come in this body to enjoy. I have a big house. It may give me because of punyam. So that is, it is like the fired gun which recoils. This vritti is something which is which is triggered by an object, you are fired. You know, the bullet has gone out, but then it comes back, it recoils. What happens? It is a vritti, it is an internal vritti which I'm enjoying because of certain merit in my account. Darshana janya. The key word is darshana janya in the case of priya, labha janya in the case of moda, and anubhava janya in the case of pramoda. So whenever object is seen, object of love is seen, perceived, it is called as priya vritti. It is one type of enjoyment. The second enjoyment, I have spoken of this before also in some of the talks, but just I want to tell because this is going deeper. So moda vritti is attainment of the object. That means that Rasagulla which I wanted, which I saw in the shop, seeing Rasagulla in the shop, seeing a ice cream in a shop, is called as priya vritti. I love ice cream. I go near the ice cream, I buy the ice cream. That is moda vritti. Inside, what is happening is I'm getting more joy. Pramoda vritti is what? I put the ice cream in my mouth and then, what a taste it is. The mind goes inward. All my vritti goes inward and it gets the reflection of ananda. That is called as pramoda vritti. So all this is ananda vrittis only, the bliss sheath only, but there are three gradations. That is what we are seeing is the deeper meaning in Panchadasi. Now, if you have understood this, the same thing in a reverse direction is dukkha. Suppose I see dukkha, I see only some sorrow outside. It is priya. It is not priya. It is one grade of dukkha. It is not called as priya, moda, and pramoda. Then the second grade will be when it affects, when something comes closer to me. And the last one is anubhavajanyam. That means I am experiencing the dukkham, the sorrow deep in my mind. Inward turned thought has no vishya, no object. It has ananda pratibimba bhak. This vritti is getting a reflection of ananda from something in this world. That is what is called as Atman. It is only a reflection, a bimba ananda. It is not, it is pratibimba ananda. It is not bimba ananda. Bimba ananda means it is pure ananda of Atman. The quality of priya, moda, and pramoda is according to the closeness to the self. The pramoda vritti, when I enjoy the ice cream in my mouth, is the nearest form of joy which I can experience. For one, it can be ice cream. For somebody, it can be nice, some other dishes. You know, for different people, it can be different things. It can be something to do with taste. It can be something to do with music. I like some music form, but if I listen to that particular singer and I listen to that song, the joy which I get out of listening to that song from that singer, I want to play it again and again because I am enjoying that. What is that enjoyment? Anandamaya kosha. Devas also have enjoyment. Devatas, different, they are living, they are beings in different lokas. The subtler vritti can capture more sattvic sukham. It can capture more happiness. Taittiriya Upanishad gives the gradation for those of you who want to know about the gradation of different happiness which one can enjoy in different lokas. you have to study the Taittiriya Upanishad, the second chapter, from verses 1 to 11. It gives the full list of Prajapati Ananda. Then it gives it gives the joy of all the devatas in different lokas. And then what does it say? All this Ananda is nothing but it is all coming from one Atma. And the knowledge, that knowledge which you get is the song of bliss of a realized person. And how does the Upanishad says, ha, 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 woo, wah. See how the different words are used here. The person who has enjoyed the bliss of the Atma, he comes to know that there is nothing in the world except this particular Atma. And therefore, he feels that everything in this world is me. I alone am appearing as this entire Jagat. That is the ultimate Ananda, which Taittiriya Upanishad talks as Brahmananda. That Brahmananda is not anywhere outside, which I will see later on. It is there, it is me, myself. If I learn the Upanishads correctly, I can also enjoy that bliss. We will stop here and we'll continue with this chart next week. And there's a little bit more details we have to study on the Anandamaya kosha before we go to the 10th verse. I'll finish this next week. The time is up. So we'll start with the two differentiations of what is the difference between the joy and sorrow vritti, and what is the difference between what is it, how is it different than the Atma pratibimba vritti. Okay, so we will study that next week. What Taittiriya Upanishad says is that the man of realization, his happiness is the highest. The devatas also experience priya, moda and pramoda, but the Brahma Swarupa vritti, that is the joy of realizing my own self, is so blissful. That is why people are drawn to this Atma. Upanishads are promising that there is something like this. And all the seekers want to realize this. This Anandamaya kosha, this Brahma Ananda kosha, Brahma Anandamaya Swarupa kosha, Swarupa Ananda. Okay. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudacchade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay, a couple of questions are there. Antakaranam is comprised of Manobuddhi and Ahamkara. Preeti is asking this question. Yes, you're right. Manomaya kosha. You see, in Tattvabodha, all the functions are taken as one instrument called as Antakaranam, inner organ, which consists of mind, intellect, memory, and ego. That is how Tattvabodha defines the internal organ. Here in advanced text, Panchadasi, we go very deep. The same Antakaranam organ in Tattvabodha is taken up in great detail here. Vidyaranya is a very, very extraordinary, very powerful acharya, teacher. And the way he takes us inside our own mind is amazing. It's really amazing because you follow the text, follow the way he takes us inside, you will never go wrong when you do meditation. And you will never go wrong in understanding the nature as Atman. How to get rid of the Ananda vrittis? You don't need to get rid of Ananda vrittis. Priya, Moda and Pramoda, they are there. You don't try to get rid of them. Just say, become aware. Becoming aware of these vrittis as mithya, as false, is elimination of Priya, Moda and Pramoda. You cannot physically get rid of them, but through knowledge of their nature as vrittis, as thought form, you can get rid of them as false. If all vrittis are result of our previous life karmas, punya papam, and our prarabdha is already decided, what free will we have as human birth? This is a constant question which a seeker always has. Using the buddhi. This question you must, Akshay, you must know is coming from the buddhi. It is a modification of a vritti. This is what we are studying. There is something which is beyond the papam and punyam, beyond the cycle of birth and death. What you're asking is the same question Nachiketa asked his guru, Yamadharmaraja. There is free will with reference to the world. But there is something which is beyond the free will, which is Sakshi, which is Atma. This Sakshi is our goal. We have to drop the free will which belongs to the intellect buddhi. The free will is given to us by God, Ishvara, to go through our prarabdha karma, go through the joys and sorrows in the vritti format. At the same time, the Lord gives us the moksha, shastra. These are the four goals, human goals. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Moksha is also decided by the buddhi, which wants to pursue follow the path of dropping all the vrittis. The buddhi, an intelligent buddhi, intelligent person, wise person realizes all the vrittis which he enjoys in his lifetime and comes to a conclusion as said in Mundaka Upanishad, Pariksha Lokan, Karmachitan. He goes and understands things for himself. I have enjoyed all what life has given me, but they are all in vritti form. It is coming and going. Waking comes, dream comes, sleep comes, and it goes away. The joy born out of the sense organs, contact with the sense object, Matra sparshastu kaunteya. It is short-lived. It doesn't stay. I want that joy to remain. I want bliss all throughout my life. That is the internal hankering of all the jivas. The jiva comes to realize the world cannot give me that happiness. And that is where your question gets answered. That there is something which is beyond this sukham and dukkham of the anandamaya kosha, and that is the goal for a sincere seeker. I hope I have answered this. Okay. The ego identification of oneself with the mind that determines the vikara and the anandamaya kosha. Here, there does not appear the reference of the ego. Please explain. Okay. The ego is nothing else but the karta, which is the vijnanamaya kosha. Ego is the I notion. Karta, the doership. So it is the doership which is the I in this body, vijnanamaya kosha. So Panchadasi takes the same ego in a form of a kosha, which is the vijnanamaya kosha, karta. Manomaya kosha is the mind, which is always oscillating. So all of us, we should learn to understand our own instrument well. Mind is different. Intellect is different. Intellect is the karta. I want to achieve something. I want to do this course. That is the ego. That is the vijnanamaya kosha.
The nishchatmika.
Yeah, nishchayatmika buddhi. Anything which is nishchayam is buddhi.
Discrimination.
Just,
Yes.
yeah. Just one question which is not sitting easy with me, and that is how there is this general reference to Anandamaya kosha as where the bhokta sits or the enjoyership. So I can understand the sukham as enjoyer, but are we supposed to think of enjoying our dukkha as well?
No, you're not enjoying. It is dukkam is a different opposite experience of the say of a vritti. See,
So where does that come?
Yeah, when the vritti is as per the when the world is as per as what is liked by me, when conducive world is in front of me, the instrument experiences sukham. When unconducive world is in front of me, the same instrument experiences dukkha.
And that's at the level of the manomaya kosha.
Of the buddhi only. It is at the level of the antakaranam only. It is at the level of the same instrument.
Okay.
What we are saying is sukham and dukkham are not experienced by two different instruments. It is one internal organ which, when the conducive situation is outside, it is called as sukham. When the unconducive situation is outside, then it comes in the form of dukkham. Dukkham also has gradation. When the dukkham is felt deep inside my own mind, it is a third level. When the dukkham is external level, something is happening in Ukraine, some people are dying there, I am hearing it, it is one level of dukkha. When I see somebody in London who is suffering, it is a second level of dukkha, right in front of me. But anubhava dukkham is third type.
Correct.
Okay?
So the Anandamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha is referring largely to when we have exited when we have exited all these other four
Yes.
layers.
Yes, that's correct. The 4 layers have gone. Vidyaranya makes a difference, and he says it is not the happiness belongs to Karana Shariram. It does not belong to the Sukshma Shariram. This is a slight difference, a deeper difference which Vidyaranya makes in this text. And it
So
comes in,
it would
yeah.
so it would appear that for different seekers or upasakas, most of us will probably remain around in these 4 layers. You know, the Anandamaya kosha is probably experienced by very few.
Very few, very few,
Okay,
very few.
okay.
Maybe
in the
that is going to come in the
maybe
next verse.
maybe in the meditation level,
Anandamaya,
maybe in the meditation level.
Yeah,
yes,
at the
yeah.
meditation, yes, you can feel it. At the meditation, you can easily feel it. That's why
Temporarily.
yes, temporarily. That is why it is called as a kosha.
Kosha, yeah. Anandamaya kosha. No, this is a very amazing way the Vidyachana explained both Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha. It's different from the Tattva Bodha, what I
Yes,
realized.
it is.
So Tattva Bodha, they have touched only the Anthakarna. Here,
Correct. Yes.
within that Anthakarna, in the name of Bahirmukha Vritti and the Antarmukha Vritti. This is what
Yes.
further analyzed in
Yes.
this verse 8 and 9. So the important thing what I realized is Bahirmukha Vritti, when he says associated with the Manomaya kosha and Vijnanamaya kosha, and this has been further analyzed saying that Manomaya kosha is Jnana and the mind only. And intellect and Jnana is the Vijnanamaya kosha. During both the times, what is happening is we are associated with the object. It's
Correct.
a Bahirmukha object.
Yes.
But the subtle part, what has been explained is Anandamaya kosha, though by taking ice cream and all, you are getting that Ananda, vagera and all, but you have withdrawn from the object.
Yes.
You are getting from the internal thing. That is why it is only a temporary. Anandamaya kosha, what is happening is a very, very temporary, very subtle.
Yes.
The Priya, Moda, Pramoda, that is only a very short span.
Correct.
So during meditation, what is happening is we could able to enhance that Anandamaya kosha to a slightly a bigger extent actually, larger span of time. So this reminds me of one important thing. The Yoga Patanjali, that second verse, what it says, Yogaha Chitta Vritti Nirodha.
Nirodha. Yeah.
Yogaha Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So what happens is the vrittis keep coming in the mind. So because of which we could not able to get in enlightened with the self, or we could not able to stay with the self.
Correct.
So the practice of doing this vritti nirodha, that itself is going closer to the self.
Correct. That's coming closer and closer. Yes.
So the way this verse 8 and 9, it is so beautifully explained actually. During this Anandamaya kosha, what is temporary, and during, see, he has also said that Anandamaya kosha is again merges with the Karana Sharira, because that is what is during the sleep actually.
Correct.
And that time we are totally in a state of ignorance.
Yes.
And in a state of awareness, we are with the meditation. But still that vritti is there, which is temporary, but we could able to stop that vritti, that is where the self is there. So how close we are with the, during Anandamaya kosha to the self, this has been so extraordinary explained by these verses 8 and 9.
Yes.
It's beyond imagination. It's a real analysis actually.
Yeah,
this is extraordinary.
This is,
I think we could not able to get to this extent in even Taittiriya Upanishad or the other Upanishads, whatever we have gone through actually. But
agreed. I agree with you, because this is the intelligence of that Acharya.
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary. See, we find many teachers, but this teacher, when he explains it very, very deeply. goes deep and deep and deep. You see, that's why this text, every chapter, you see, when you go to the chapter 5, he will explain the Mahavakya so deeply, you'll be flabbergasted.
Amazing.
You know, here he is doing the Panchakoshas. Then in chapter 2, he talks about the different sharirams and how the 5 elements, you know, when he goes and studies the 5 elements, he will go and into the depth of the 5 elements. When he studies the 5 koshas, he will go into the depth of 5 koshas. When he studies the Mahavakya, he will go into the depth of Mahavakya. And he writes 100 verses, you know. It's amazing. You see, that's Vidyananda Swami teacher.
I mean, the verse 8 and 9, the way he has explained objectlessness in the Anandamaya kosha is amazing, actually. Extraordinary. Very, very beautiful.
Okay, thank you. Any other remark? Deepak, you enjoyed the talk? You are muted.
Very beautiful. Yeah.
Very much, Shekharji. This is absolutely marvelous, and now I see the connection of the koshas, the 5 sheaths in our daily lives.
Yes.
You know, how the sharirams and the sheaths interact with the stula body, the stula sharira, and sort of makes us do what we are. The
Correct.
action, the karta and the bhokta, and how this whole thing is so seamlessly integrated.
Crystal clear. You see, you always used to have confusion between buddhi and manaha.
Yeah.
From now, you will never say I have any confusion.
Shekharji, chit is not mentioned here, but
Chit is the same as chit is reflected consciousness. We discussed yes, chit is the reflected consciousness.
Okay, not memory.
Chit is memory. It is that you're talking about chitta. Chitta is memory.
Chitta, okay, yeah, okay.
Yes.
So, okay, noted. Yeah.
Chitta is a part of chit.
So here
Yes.
the intellect is the reflected consciousness.
Correct. Intellect gets the reflection of consciousness.
Yeah.
It's very crystal clear.
Very crystal. Thank you, Shekharji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
Thank you and good night.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Good night.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you.